Hip Hop Legal Network, aka the Legal Watchdog. Don't deflect, reflect. Got two interesting stories for you. Jacqueline Lee Johnson and Janae L. Jackson. Johnson and Jackson. Tisk, tisk. Now repeat after me, ladies and gentlemen. I do solemnly swear or affirm that as an attorney and as a counselor of this court, I will conduct myself uprightly and according to the law, and that I will support the Constitution of the United States, not white supremacy.
Tonight, the former Brunswick
District Attorney is out of jail after turning herself in this morning. A grand jury indicted Jacqueline Johnson last week on charges connected to Ahmaud Arbery's death investigation. Johnson served as Brunswick's Judicial Circuit DA when Arbery was shot last February. Father and son, Gregory and Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryan, are also charged in that case. Johnson initially did not file charges against the men and later recused herself from the case. She is now indicted on charges of violation of oath of a public officer and obstruction of a police officer. According to jail records, she's been released on her own recognizance.
Ayo, rest in peace, Ahmaud Arbery. Remember that story, right? It has yet to go to trial, by the way, but this is a case where a young gentleman was tragically shot and killed with a shotgun at point-blank range for simply running while black. And I get it. You're probably asking yourself, what can I say to deflect? What can I say to deflect? Well, what I say to you is, first of all, showing contrition really goes a long way. And I know it's not your fault per se, but surely the depraved actions of Miss Jackie Johnson is an example of what folks will swear to you does not exist or ever take place in 2021 in America. Yet another example of a bad apple. Now listen, at this point, I think we got a whole tree that needs to be uprooted in the same way that racism and overall vitriol for the black man in America needs to be uprooted. And the folks that stand up for justice should understand this and understand why this conversation and every time these kinds of things happen need to be brought to light, because it brings us to a better place in terms of really being able to apply justice collectively as a society, but also for judges and prosecutors and the individuals that we entrust with handling those things and having that level of discernment. We can slowly eradicate a certain mentality by showing that there are potential consequences. Now, obviously, the legal component is what it is, and we'll see what happens with that as it applies to Miss Johnson. But I think there needs to be a level of public humiliation. And I know individuals don't want to hear this, especially from a black man, and even less a black man talking to white women. But let's... in various ways. Coincidentally, that at this moment, this is where I feel that I can supply a need. Now, you may disagree, and you'll do everything in your power to suppress me sort of meeting my obligation. But when we have that conversation about who's standing up for justice and who's not, let's just put this one on the record, if you will. And so what's sad about someone like Ms. Johnson, in my humble opinion, again, if I were in her position, because it's just about power, I think when it comes down to it, is that when you're at the top, you don't want anything to impact you sort of going down a few notches. It's like, again, you always use the sports analogy. If you're up and you got to keep shooting threes, you're going to keep shooting those threes. I get that part. But once you start to foul the other team or go after their star players and break their ankles, blatantly, by the way, do all kinds of things and then look the other way and say, oh no, we're not committing any fouls, ref, you got it all wrong, makes the game unwatchable. And the reality is that in real life, when we are faced with these situations, when our favorite team is blowing out the other team, we leave early. And we're not going to sit there and just watch a game in which it becomes like a literal slaughter or a figurative slaughter. So we know how to respond when we see it play out that way. So let me say this, when it comes to the institutions in place, and again, I know you love the nostalgia and you romanticize all of it because you want to see all of it as being completely perfect and the individuals infallible, and there was no error ever committed. But if we live in reality, we know clearly that's not the case. And we have so many examples. But I think it's really important as we transition more into a technological phase of everything, really, as it applies to everything in our lives, that we try our best to improve in terms of how we deal with one another. Advancements in technology should go right along with advancements in human interactions. We have to begin to talk about the ethno-sociological components that I believe is the primary impetus that drives someone that is in a position of power, such as Ms. Johnson, to go ahead and believe that she can finagle no charges being brought up by way of deception. The justice system, the legal system, that again is one of the most important aspects of a functional society, to get involved and work your butt off, go to law school. And my goal in doing this video and moving forward, I'll try not to dox folks, to put their information out there, but if it's in the public domain, if you will, then best believe that people can look you up. And for the record, Miss Jackie Johnson attended the University of Georgia. And I'm sure they're proud of her today. Aside from this particular incident here, and a few others apparently, there are some cases that are being brought up. And look, the thing is, this woman might be a nice mom to someone, a grandmother, a sister. We don't necessarily need to throw the individual away, but it's the mentality. Because I'm sure no one asked Miss Johnson to do this. Or maybe they did. That exists too, where someone comes through the back door and says, hey, make sure this guy doesn't get any charges. These 3 guys that just killed this black kid, man, whatever you want to call him, depending on how you look at him. But they just blew his necessity on the floor with it. He was running. They thought he might have been stealing. They didn't have any proof, but they killed him. But now you gotta let him off. So again, that conversation might happen. I'm sure of it, but Again, in my opinion. Now, I think what tends to happen is that someone believes that there's a potential benefit, or they've seen it in terms of protecting this little thing of ours, so to speak. Very mafia-esque. And again, the only requirements to join in is to have that coveted white skin. And I ain't hating, I'm just saying, to have a fair chance at living, at existing, at being able to run. Like I said, again, these are just my theories, my thoughts on it. And, you know, folks like to throw out the whole, well, conspiracy theory. At what point do we get from that to saying, you know what, let's do some research on this subject to try to see if we can get closer to a solid belief in this. Let's not just operate off of emotion, thinking that because we're saying something about Miss Jackie Johnson now that applies to you specifically. This isn't for anyone except Jackie Johnson, the person that messed up. And in this society, we've all been taught. I guess some folks just sort of maybe had another meeting that I missed out on. But we've all been taught that there are consequences to our actions. And then we all have to be held liable or held accountable. Maybe I missed the meeting. Maybe I'm not allowed to complain. Maybe I'm not allowed to speak up about it. But until somebody explicitly tells me that, I'm going to keep talking about it. And I hope more individuals are honest about their feelings about this. I mean, if you support this, we should figure out how to fix that. Because no one should lose their life and then have the good guys cover up what happened to you instead of pursuing justice on your behalf. For me, it's just, it goes against what justice, accountability, and righteousness, and just morality, what all of that stands for.